All right now, we got an episode, a good episode coming to y'all tonight. Uh, we got to hold just Pearly things accountable. You know what I'm saying? I think she done said some floss shit. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do my best not to do no more cussing, but we just had to address that real quick. So we gonna get right into it, and we gonna see what was said. MTR gonna give us a great breakdown. Here we go.
You know, I don't.
Wow.
I really don't. I don't wish luck to racists.
Oh, I'm not racist.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Nick.
Yeah, I am a little bit racist.
And the Italians, we do not claim you.
Oh, hey, the Italians don't claim you. You're the one dating a black guy.
I'm not gonna beat around the bush for this conversation, and I'm gonna get straight to the point. Pearl, you f***ed up. You knowingly invited a white supremacist and a self-proclaimed racist onto a platform which is primarily supported by, at least initially, and produced by black people. This comes across as insensitive to downright nasty. And I want to be clear, it's not just inviting said person to the conversation that's upsetting, because conversations with people who don't agree with each other or don't agree with a particular position, if done in a healthy way, can promote civil discourse. But your up was to not only not defend the people who helped create the content on your platform, but to also push a narrative that is insensitive and damaging to those very same people. Pearl, you know that your staff is mostly black people. And I'm talking about from a production perspective as well as a talent perspective. You also know that the majority of your content utilizes black people talking about black relationship issues. You could have had black people sitting in the same room with this person in order to combat some of the hellacious things that were coming out of his mouth, or to have a different perspective that would have lent itself well to demonstrate the respect for the people that watch your content and that you employ. I don't think that your platform would be as big as what it is today if it wasn't for the essential utilization of black people, black relationship topics, and black talent. And the talent came from all over. When you include the likes of an Andrew Tate, all the way down to a Brittany Renner. And even from a content creator perspective, from me to a Melanie King, to a Sarah Garvey, to a King Riches, to an Auntie Jenny. So for those just unaware of what's been going on, Pearl has recently come under fire for these particular comments.
I'm trying to get my Africans in America, my Africans. Oh gosh.
Oh boy.
They're gonna be in trouble. This sounds similar to the slavery stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said, I wanted a myth for my people to live by. So they often, but that's what they do, is they embellish. And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible, it was.
Right.
But they want to make it like more horrible so that they can control people.
Now what's crazy is
Okay, now I had to pause it real quick so me and Pop can go ahead and go to getting in. I understand what he said about Roots, but if you are an intelligent African American and you have looked it up and you have studied yourself, then you understand that a lot of what he said about it was fictional, right? Okay, so therefore we're not trying to use that. What we use is the actual facts. The 400 years that built this country. You know, the 400 years that built the world that you now live in, as you sit here and you've made your money off of us, young lady, and then you hopped your pale, unattractive behind on here and tried to say that we tried to make it worse than it is. Ma'am, I ask you one question before I pass it to Pops. What do I need to do to act like it wasn't worse than what it is? Ma'am, 400 years of slavery. What are you talking about? I don't need to make it worse than it is. The facts are the facts. beaten, sold, raped. What else do I need to say? What do you mean? You obviously don't really know what's going on. But hey, I would also like to say this. I am never shocked when white people get with other white people and they say negative things. That will never catch me off guard. Pearl ain't never had me fooled. She ain't never had me fooled.
Well, here we go. I'm going to keep it real short. I ain't going to say a whole lot I'm thinking right now at the moment. But let me just say this. It's actually worse than what you actually think it is.
I'm telling you.
Because, see, if you do not live what we live every single day, then you really don't have any idea of what it is that we go through on a daily basis.
Don't have a clue.
So I'm going to say this because, I'm going to do what I can to make sure I don't use a curse word right here. And that is this. This is not easy. When I say this is not easy, I'm talking about being a black man and or being black in America is not easy. We just make it look like it is.
Ooh.
See, you have no idea of when you get into an elevator, as an example, and a white woman backs to the back of the elevator and clenches her purse because you just walked into it. That just gives you one example. So you don't know what it's like when you go into a store and somebody follows you around the whole entire store because of the color of your skin.
Like I can't afford what I came in here.
So you don't know what it's like for you to walk into a restaurant before everybody else. And then you have some people that don't look like you that walk into the restaurant behind you. And then when they walk up, the waitress or the waitresses or whoever the host is, and then they walk over to them, even though they saw you come in first. So don't tell me about it actually being worse than what it really is, because you don't have a clue about how bad it really is. Facts. Because let me tell you something. Nobody strung up any of your ancestors that was actually pregnant and cut the baby out of their stomachs. They didn't do that to your race. So you don't know nothing about that. So you don't know nothing about the fact of when you actually take a black man and you take you take a horse and you tie his hands and his feet to the horse and you go each direction and it splits them right in half. See, right before everybody could be able to see. So see, you don't know nothing about that. So don't ever say anything about it being worse than what it really is, because you don't have no clue about how bad it really is.
I'm telling you.
Because it's really, I'm going to say it again, it's really worse than what you can even think. So don't talk about roots and talk about the fact of it actually being worse than what it really was, because guess what? The movie did it some justice.
Come on now.
But the movie still didn't do it the real justice. Because that was a whole lot more
that what I wanted
that actually happened. Because guess what you don't realize? See, you don't know what it's like to have your family separated away from you. You don't know what it's like to have the slave master. Let me go in on this now. So you don't know what it's like to have the slave master to come down to the slave quarters and take your wife and have his way with her however he wants to do it right in front of your face, and you can't do nothing about it. So don't talk to me about how bad it is or how bad it was, because you don't have a clue.
He went off so bad just then, I don't got nothing to say. He might drop. You heard what he said, but don't worry about it though. We got a little bit more of this video, so I guarantee you he got some more he finna give it to you.
That I came across these comments while I was live streaming a couple of days ago. And what started out as a laughy, jokey live stream where I wanted to talk about my time up in London quickly diverted to one of the worst live streams that I've ever had in my life. And honestly, it was a trip to hell as I discovered the magnitude of the conversation that she had with this figure by the name of Nick Fuentes. Specific to the comments regarding slavery being embellished, I said this on the stream and I maintain it today, that Pearl needs to be held responsible.
Facts.
For this comment, likening a quote from the writer of Roots explaining a myth for his people to hold on to does not negate the documented history of the atrocities that happened to black people. And I'd argue that Roots was a light depiction of the savagery that my forefathers had to go through to ensure that I would be here today. But let me explain a little bit further how thoroughly that this actually is, because for me it comes down to a question of ethics. You're interviewing a known Nazi sympathizer and an anti-black creator and not offering any pushbacks whatsoever. And in fact, you're adding in your own fake news regarding the embellishment or the exaggeration.
Because bringing that root shit up was terrible.
Additionally, there were times within the conversation where it's laughy, it's jokey, it's kikiing, especially when you got specific in certain comments that reflected on CP time. And let me also say this, is that generally CP time is something that's laughed amongst people of melanation, but it's not taken as a joke when you're doing it with a person who is a self-proclaimed racist. Now that I've had the opportunity to digest all of the information, now that I'm not on live stream with thousands of people looking at me, and in the back of my mind thinking towards the tens of thousands that are waiting for the perfect reaction for me, I begin to question why you didn't sympathize with the plight of African Americans or black people in general. And not once in the interview did you have at least one pro-black stance or some form of ethical defense or cultural sensitivity for the people who carry your production machine forward, or the people that you know that watch your channel. That's questionable at the